All right, welcome back to the series on upzoning. This is video number 7. This is a shorter article, so we're going to get through it fairly quickly. It's from a website called betterdwelling.com. I'll put the link in the description down below. This title is Broad Upzoning Makes Housing Less Affordable and Doesn't Add Supply. So let's see what they have to say here. It's from October 30th of 2020. Politicians are increasingly discussing broad upzoning as a housing affordability solution. Instead of one home on a property, you can now build 2 homes on the same amount of land, all across the city in some cases. The assumption is if there's 2 homes on a property, it'll be half the price. Makes sense, right? There's a reason politicians let people come to their own conclusions without explaining the impact. It's because that's not at all how it works, and the industry has long known this. Real estate is priced by highest and best use. Real estate values are determined by the highest and best use the property has. The catchy phrase means the optimum use determines value. It doesn't really matter what the current use is, if there's a cost-effective and better use. This isn't a secret real estate investor tactic you learn at airport Marriott conventions either. It's a basic rule for everyone in the real estate industry, from agents to appraisers. So the rule, again, is real estate is priced by highest and best use. Still not clear? Let's do an example of 2 similar lots. In a fictitious world without zoning, the first lot has a house on it, and the second, a commercial building. Similar houses in the neighborhood go for about $1 million, and similar commercial buildings for $2 million. In this neighborhood, say it costs $50,000 to demolish a house and about $300,000 all in to build a commercial building. Knowing this instantly changes the value of the property with the house. The property with the house on it is now worth $1,650,000. That's the value of the commercial property, minus tearing down the house and building a commercial building. Even if you plan on buying it to use as a house, you need to pay the value for its best use, not current use. This is really interesting. In this case, it's conversion to a commercial building. Now, how does anyone ever get a house? That's why zoning exists. That's what we have found, right? When the city increases the what's allowable on your property, this could be the reason why you're going to pay higher property taxes, because the real estate is valued at the highest and best use, regardless of whether you have 1 or up to 3 units on the property. Limited zoning can actually preserve affordability. To prevent overuse of developing for booms and busts, regions use zoning. Zoning is when governments define the type of use a property can have. This prevents the highest and best use rule from dominating short-term trends. Instead of the highest and best use for all types of properties, it's just the best use for the specific zoning type. For example, residential zoning would require a change in zoning to build anything other than housing. That's what keeps it protected, right? Otherwise, your whole city would just be a commercial district. In the above example, let's say the house is restricted by zoning to its current use. If the house is unable to be converted to a commercial property, it can only be traded as a house, not optimal for the person selling the house who wants a maximum profit or maximum theoretical profit. However, it's great for a home buyer looking to buy a house and not knock it down. As you might have guessed, zoning can have a massive impact on the value of a property. Broad upzoning makes existing housing more expensive. You might already be able to spot the issue with broad upzoning now, but let's spell it out. Politicians lead people to believe buying half a property will be more affordable. Unfortunately, broad upzoning doesn't actually build homes. It only increases the value of every lot's potential to build homes. Where there was 1 house, you can now build 2. Existing homes are immediately worth the value of the maximum zoning, less the cost of knocking it down and building 2. Let's remind ourselves of that. Existing homes are immediately worth the value of the maximum zoning. So this is where we get the property taxes will go up, and that's not a good thing, especially for people who purchase their homes and just want to live in it as a home. They don't want to tear it down and build, multiple units. Not everyone has that desire, for one, or the ability, or the income, or the economic ability to do that. And so that's why generally they just stay as is, but yet you're still going to pay more in property taxes because the highest and best use of the value of the property is still there. Let's continue. Every property now requires a real estate developer to get the full value of use. Since real estate developers don't do it for free, you also need to inject profit into the cost as well. In short, politicians increase the cost of housing without actually building more housing, all in the name of affordability. Wow, this is a really good article. Broad upzoning also fails to create new housing. Well, that sucks, but at least housing is built, right? 2 unaffordable houses are better than 1. Not exactly. An MIT study that hoped to prove upzoning led to more supply and falling rents accidentally proved the opposite. Instead, the researcher found rents and prices both increased. Further, it didn't actually create any additional housing. The author concluded short-term, local-level impacts of upzoning are higher property prices, but no additional new housing construction. Wow, that's really insightful. Sure, more housing needs to be created, that's a given. However, broad upzoning of whole areas, possibly cities, doesn't make sense if the goal is improved affordability. In this regard, planned and controlled upzoning makes a lot more sense. It's also worth noting when these discussions appear right after strong price growth, as prices pull back, it's almost never at the bottom of the market when the price growth would be minimally impacted. That's an awesome article. Lots of good stuff in there. All right. I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.